It is still the 22nd of February, and I forgot to repeat the last 8 minutes of the previous chapter. It ends all garbled, so I continue this now, even though the chapter is finished. I just continued reading from where I thought I was ending, and then realized it was garbled. So this is Tom speaking directly to Bobby. This is, of course, with Phyllis being in trance, where the information comes from. The time has come for the people of the earth to demand from their governments, to demand from their religious leaders, to demand from their teachers knowledge and understanding of what is truly happening. It is now the time of the people. Whereas before, your religions and your governments and your society kept your masses in ignorance and kept mankind tied down, it is now coming to the time when man is demanding answers. It is now the time for us to come through on communications. As Yuri comes through on television and opens up and makes people aware that there are others besides him who can do these things, particularly their children, this will cause those in your world to demand answers from their scientific community. But the way to reach men, we have finally decided, is through their own physical bodies in healing. And through Bobby, many people will be healed, and many will be open to healing. Are you aware of this, Bobby? Yes, Bobby said. And are you with us? Yes, he repeated. A month before, Tom had said, apropos Bobby, things will be resolved and all your systems in motion by the middle of August. It seemed now that the prediction had been precisely fulfilled, and the group were joyful in their newfound cohesion and clearer sense of purpose. But though they didn't know it, events were looming that were to give them cause to doubt Tom's prophetic abilities. On the 16th of August, John flew to London, and Phyllis and Bobby to Florida. But before separating, they made arrangements to meet the following week in Rome and drive to Capalona and carry out the proposed series of healing sessions on Ascioli. Daily throughout the week they were together at Ossining. They had held the distant healing meditations. And on the 14th of August, Diana had telephoned and said that Roberto was much better. This was confirmed the following day by Tom, who said, Ascioli's improvement continues. Only loss of hope in him will cause a problem. He has not lost hope. He will be well. So it was arranged that Phyllis and Bobby should join Andrija at Kennedy Airport in the evening of the 21st of August to catch a flight to Rome, where they would meet John the following morning. Despite John's admonitions about negative thinking, Diana still feared that Roberto was dying and that nothing now could save him. She spent most of each day at his bedside in the Villa Iralia, comforting him as best she could, giving him drinks and cooling his brow. He had developed a high fever, which had progressed to pneumonia. News of his condition had got about, and 2 young medical doctors who were students of his came to Capalona to see if they could help. He refused antibiotics, however. And appeared to be declining fast. On the 19th of August, Diana says, he became an archetypal old man overnight, and I believe it was then that his soul left. He became his personality. Roberto wasn't afraid of death. He knew it was a transition and not an end, but his personality wanted to cling on to life. And though he could hardly speak now, he kept murmuring to me, the Americans, and I kept promising him that the American healers would come. In Andrija's home at Ossining at noon on the 21st of August, just a few hours before he was due to leave for the airport, the phone rang. Andrija picked it up and a voice said, "We have a message. We will stand by for it to be recorded." The voice was Bobby's, but it was not his normal voice. It was more like his trance voice, but exaggeratedly mechanical and halting. Andrija quickly attached his recording apparatus to the phone and then listened to the voice, which said, "We tried to reach Phyllis last night but could not, and therefore we are contacting you as the director, and you must take the initiative and responsibility to do the following. Cancel your plans for travel immediately. We will contact you again later. You must all stay exactly where you are until you get further instructions. We ask you to carry out these instructions." Two things disposed Andrija to believe that this was a genuine message from Korean and not a hoax perpetrated by Bobby. The first thing was the reference to him as the director, for Bobby had not heard the tapes of the early communications with Korean and therefore could not know that Andrija had been nominated director. Secondly, the tape was blank when he played it back, though when he checked the apparatus by dialing the local time signal, he found that it was working perfectly. In his work with Yuri, Andrija had had many experiences of tapes being paranormally erased, and also he had known people receive phone calls from Yuri when Yuri was asleep. So the idea of Korean using Bobby's trance voice without Bobby being aware of the fact was not so unfamiliar and absurd as it will be to most readers of this narrative. Andrija had to act quickly. He phoned Phyllis's home and learned from her daughter that she had left for the airport some time ago. He rang Orlando Airport and managed to get Phyllis on the phone just as she was due to get on the plane for New York. He told her about the message and the reason for his belief in its genuineness and asked her to return home and wait for him to call her again. Phyllis said that Bobby hadn't turned up at the airport though when she had spoken to him at 8 o'clock that morning, he had said he would join her there for the New York flight that was now about to leave. Andrija's next problem was to get in touch with John. He didn't know whether he was staying in London, and the only person he could think of who might know was Bill Wills, a close friend of John's and a manager of his financial affairs, who had an office in Geneva, Switzerland. His call to Switzerland was held up by the international telephone operator, who recognized his name and spent a minute or two talking about his book, Beyond Telepathy. But he finally managed to get through to Bill Wills. Bill had news for him. Diana had called Geneva that morning, also trying to get in touch with John to say that Ascioli was dying. Bill had managed to get that message to John, but he doubted that he would be able to contact him again, as he knew he was planning to get a late afternoon flight to Rome, and would probably have already left for the airport. "Well," Andrija said, "we've had a message from our friends in outer space to hold everything and await further instructions. So there won't be anyone for him to meet at Rome Airport tomorrow morning." Bill said he would do his utmost to get in touch with John and would hope at least to be able to get a message to him at London Airport, telling him to call Andrija immediately. So, and then I continue just before this chapter, but it goes on, and it was the last reading of Exits. Have a lovely Saturday.